DreAllDay.com.
Now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one framework, several frameworks, but one main framework. We wrote a book on this amongst many other books, and you have this daily masterclass. All of these fall under one umbrella that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is losing your COVID/pandemic fear. Now, I thought about, before even putting some notes together for this episode, not before recording it, because once I put the notes in, then the recording is going to happen. But before even putting some notes together for this episode, I thought whether or not it was even worth it for me to do this. Now, if you happen to be a follower of this show or follow my work, or you've gotten to know me at all, you will learn very quickly. When I have a thought like this, is it worth it to say this? Is it worth it to put this thing out? That means I should definitely say it, and I should definitely put it out, because of the fact that some people may disagree, some people may be offended, some people may be, I don't know, what's the other word for people feeling, butthurt about the situation, whatever. I'm definitely going to say it. I'm talking about this because even though I happen to reside in a free state in the United States, the state of Florida, where we still have some mask restrictions, such as in a federal or government state-owned building, or certain businesses, they can set, hey, you got to wear a mask inside these, especially any what do they call them, national chain businesses. They just set that for the whole country, so you have to wear masks when you go inside these buildings and things like that. But outside, we don't have any mask mandates. You're not getting a citation for not wearing a mask or any of those. So I'm lucky enough to live in this free state of Florida, and I only wear a mask when I'm required to, and only when I'm required. And as soon as that I step outside of the bounds of a requirement, I immediately remove the mask. Even though, despite this, I'm tired of seeing and hearing people, some people who I know, some people who I see online, or people that I just see talking that I don't even know, and just random people that I see in the streets. It appears that a lot of people are living in fear of this whole situation, whether they're in fear of the virus, they're in fear of the pandemic, or they're in fear of something else that I think is the thing that people are most afraid of right now. Is another thing, is not the pandemic or the virus, even though these people may be vaccinated. Because I think what it looks like here in the United States, anyone who wants to get vaccinated pretty much is. Anybody listening to this who wants to be vaccinated but has not yet been vaccinated, I don't think there are too many left. I have gotten tired. I'm experiencing fatigue of seeing people wearing masks all the time. One reason why that bothers me is not because you wearing a mask doesn't actually do anything physically to me, but it makes it harder for me to read people's energy because half their face is covered. So it's hard for me to converse with a person, even non-verbally, especially non-verbally, because I can't see their face. I don't know what's really going on with them because I can only see their eyes, and it's hard to tell without the whole frame. You need the whole picture to read things on a human being. I went to a baseball game a couple weeks ago, Miami Marlins baseball game. They have a beautiful stadium, and usually going to the games are fun, but going to this last game that I went to was kind of boring because there weren't any people at the damn game. I mean, they let people in, but they have the physically distanced seating, and they got the seats, all these seats blocked off, so you can only sit in these small blocks of seats. And it was almost like you were watching a game on TV. It really felt like we were watching it on TV because there were no human beings around us. Like within 10 feet of us, there were no other human beings. That was boring. So I'm not going to another Marlins game until they open up the seating. And it was annoying at the same time because the ushers now have the power, and I've seen this on TV too, so they're doing this at all different types of stadiums. The ushers are walking around with a sign in their hands that says, keep your mask on. They walk around up and down the stairs of the aisles during the game. I've seen this at a baseball game, a basketball game, and they walk around holding these signs the entire game. That has to be the most tedious job, one of the most tedious jobs you can have, but they're walking around holding these signs. And I remember the day that I put my notes together for this particular episode, which was the day before I'm actually recording it. I was sitting outside at one of my favorite neighborhood cafes. And the funny thing about this cafe is that they just put their seats outside. They just keep a table with some chairs outside. Anybody can just walk by and sit down in the seats. They just put the seats back out there like 4 days ago. Now, mind you, the lockdown was over a year ago. They just put the seats outside 4 days ago. And this is not a local business. This is a national chain type of business. So that probably is the 100% of the reason why it took them so long to put the seats back out there. What is going to happen if somebody's sitting outside in a chair outside of your cafe? And how could they trace it to you anyway? But this is the kind of fear that I'm talking about, that a national chain won't even put seats outside, because who knows? Who could explain that? Who could logically explain why they wouldn't have seats outside of their business for so long? Again, how can anybody blame it on you if someone happens to get the virus? How can they trace it back to you in any way? So all this shit is getting out of hand. That's why we're talking about what we're talking about here today. So all that said, let's just go into our points, and I'll remind everyone, I do have a text line. I don't care if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you have some points that maybe I didn't share, or maybe you just have a different perspective on something that I do offer here today. Text me and tell me how you feel about it. My number is 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is losing your COVID fear, or getting rid of your COVID fear. Just no more COVID fear, period. Number one, normally for an episode like this where I'm talking about something that is related to a virus, this is related to, the whole pandemic's central focus is the virus. Let's just say that is not really about the virus anymore. Normally I would offer a disclaimer on a topic like this, since I'm talking about something. I think all of you know that I am not a doctor. I do not have a medical degree. I'm not an expert in virology. I'm not an epidemiologist either. I'm not an expert on these things, which you probably already know. So I should be offering a disclaimer here. Normally I would tell you something like, hey, take everything that I'm saying here with a grain or two of salt. Make sure you consult a doctor and double check anything that I said that could be interpreted as medical advice. But you know what? For today's episode, fuck that. Fuck all of that. I'm not doing that today. I am not offering you a disclaimer. I want to make it clear there are no disclaimers in this episode for two specific reasons. Reason number one, doctors who are the alleged experts, the people who are telling us to, quote, follow the science since last year, close quote, follow the science, close quote, since last year. People such as Dr. Anthony Fauci, who's become very, very well known over the last year. I never heard of the guy before last year. Maybe some of you did. They are the ones who kind of got us into this shit. And when I say this shit, I'm going to explain exactly what I mean. And when I say this shit, I'm not even talking about anything that is specifically scientific or anything that is specifically medical. Okay, so that being said, fuck any doctor given advice. And if you happen to be a doctor who's listening to this, I'm not saying fuck you as a doctor. I'm saying fuck the advice that is coming from doctors in this situation, because that has led to the very point of what I'm talking about here today, which is the COVID fear that has enveloped a lot of people. And as I get into it, you'll understand what I mean here. And the second reason why I'm saying fuck a disclaimer is that what I'm talking about here today is not about doctors. So if you're a doctor listening to this, this is not a personal attack on you. And if I didn't say your name, it can't be personal against you. And it's not about doctors, period. It's not even about medicine. And as a matter of fact, this is not even about viruses. What we're going to talk about here today is not really about a virus. What it really is about fear. Because a virus ain't the only thing that can kill you. A lot of things in life can kill you, and something's going to kill every one of us at some point in life. What we're talking about here today is fear that happens to be the source, happens to be this pandemic/virus. This whole situation has become a great case study on fear. 50 years from now, there will be human psychology courses and persuasion courses, and people who do any kind of talk or create any kind of content around human psychology will have case studies and books and YouTube, whatever the website is 50 years from now, videos that will be studying the herd mentality of all the people who have been driven and forced, and not even forced, let me not use that word forced, they've been driven, because this is a choice, who have chosen now to live in fear for the last year plus, based on the things that we have gotten from doctors and quote unquote science. All that said, there is no disclaimer here today. So fuck what the doctor says. If you're a doctor listening to this, fuck what you said. All right, again, nothing personal, but if you take it personal, that's your business. Point number two, today's topic, once again, is losing your fear of COVID. Now that we got clear that there is no disclaimer here today, you might be thinking to yourself, even though I haven't even gone into exactly why I'm saying the things that I'm saying, you may already be forming your defense or your rebuttal to what you think I'm going to say. Or even the fact that I've even said what I've said so far, you may already be rebutting it in your mind. You are thinking or saying something like, but Dre, wait a minute. No, the reason that we had these lockdowns, the reason that we had the mask mandates, the reason why we as a country or a world is trying to get everybody to go and take the vaccine is all for the greater good. You know, Dre, don't you care about people's lives? You know, Dre, I know maybe it hasn't affected you so much, Dre, but you know, my fill in the blank died of COVID. Maybe somebody in your family died of it. Maybe somebody that you know died of it. Maybe a bunch of people that you know died of or with COVID over the last year. So you're really taking it as a personal affront that I'm saying what I'm saying. Don't be afraid of this virus. And you're saying things like, yo, we need to stay locked down and we need to stay masked up until whenever that until is supposed to be. So let's talk about that until. First of all, to be clear, I already told you all about my mask wearing habits or mask not wearing habits. I'm also not vaccinated. I do not plan on getting the vaccine unless it becomes government mandated, and I highly doubt that that's going to happen from what I've been reading and seeing. They're just trying to encourage people to do it, and I think enough people will be driven by fear and by their herd mentality to go get it that we will reach the herd immunity. Funny that that's the phrase that gets used, right? Herd immunity and sheep. Y'all think that's not a coincidence, but anyway. I think enough people will be driven by the herd mentality to go get it that people like myself won't need to, and then we'll have herd immunity anyway and we'll be good. So I am not vaccinated, just in case anybody was wondering. I should have told you that at the beginning. But we have been being told from the very beginning of the pandemic that all we need to do is lock down and mask up for X amount of time when we get things under control. That's always been the phrase. When we get this virus under control. And that was before we had a vaccine. Now it's when we reach herd immunity when it comes to vaccination. That was supposed to be a couple weeks, then it became months, then it became until we get it under control. Now, until we get it under control is not a good, if you're wanting something to be over with, you can't agree to until we get it under control, because people can just keep moving the goalposts on you. Now that can always change, right? Then it was when Joe Biden got inaugurated, he said, I need everybody to wear a mask for the first 90 days of my administration so we can get this virus under control. Well, we're past 90 days. Now it's until herd immunity, at which point then there'll be another scare tactic that comes out to keep controlling you. Now, let me be clear about something. Let me offer a rebuttal to the very thing that I just offered. We got to weigh things from every side and be fair about this. That when you're talking about something like a virus, which is amorphous, it can change. There are new strains that come out, new things that we learn over time. That's what science is. The science is not set in stone. It's always changing. There's always new information and new things being learned, which means that getting something under control, we might think at some point that it'll take a couple weeks, but then when we get new information, okay, and it's not going to take weeks, it's going to take months. Okay, it's not going to take months, it might take years. Not going to take years, it's just going to be until we can figure it out. So I understand that can happen, and that is exactly what has happened over the last year plus. And there are a lot of people who don't want to look at more than one side of a situation who would say, well, hey, they said weeks and it's been over a year, or they said months, it's been over a year, and now they just keep moving things back, and they don't understand logically how it is possible that could happen. So I want to offer and make sure I'm clear on saying this. It is possible that could happen, that something can just keep getting pushed back because we are getting new information at all times. And we can't, if you're a person who's working for the federal government, who is the ones who are putting all this information out about all these things we need to do or not do, you can't predict the behavior of 330 million people. You have no idea how many people are going to comply with your suggestion to wear a mask or lock down or socially distance. And as you can see in the United States, different states are doing different things. I live in the state of Florida where it's pretty much open. The state of Texas, they just had a boxing match in early May and they filled the stadium, 70,000 people there. I saw the video. Most of the people in that stadium were not wearing masks because masks were optional. Nobody can tell you you can't wear a mask, but there were a few people I saw wearing masks. Most of the people were not, because most people don't want to. The governor of Texas is pretty much open that state. The governor of Florida is open this state. And I think Mississippi was another state that was open. They don't bring a ton of tourists into a state like Mississippi from what I see, but I heard that state was opened as well. But there are other states like Pennsylvania, where I'm from, state of New York, state of California, that are still locked down after all this time. And from what I hear, a lot of the residents of those states are either getting kind of annoyed or very annoyed over the situation of things still being locked down, or they are sufficiently in fear that they're like, you know what, we need to stay locked down. It's for the greater good. You know, people are dying. I know people who died. You know, we got to care about people's lives. We're not just going to go out here and kill everybody by doing what we want to do. As people, you know, y'all know what people are saying. Some of y'all are out there even saying these things. So I don't even have to articulate this too much to you. So now we're at this point where we have to wait till we get to herd immunity, however long that takes to get enough of the people who want to follow vaccinated. What I find is that everybody who wants to be vaccinated is pretty much vaccinated at this point. Is anyone listening to me right now who wants to get the vaccine, who lives in the United States, let's say? Because I was talking to Nico, who does the audio here. He's in the Philippines when I'm recording this, and he was telling me that he wants to be vaccinated, but it's not available where he is just yet. So in other countries, the vaccine may not be so widely available for it. But in the United States, damn near everybody who I know who wants to get the vaccine has already gotten it. And the people who don't have it are people who just don't want to get it. Or there are a few people. One of the people is, I know one of my grandmothers, both my grandmothers are still alive, but one of them was saying that she does have it. Another one was saying she wants to wait and kind of just see, you know, what happens with the, you know, the side effects and this and that before she gets it. So there are a few holdouts who are just looking to see how safe is this and things like that. And I've seen a lot of material, whether that's online content, videos, Instagram, putting their little notes on people's posts and stuff like that. Even mine, whenever I'm talking about COVID, that says get the facts about the vaccine. So it looks like there are a lot of people who are not wanting to get the vaccine until they're sure that it's safe. So hopefully, once those people are sufficiently indoctrinated or sufficiently informed that it is safe, they'll go get the vaccine, we'll hit herd immunity, and we'll be good. Now, me personally, the reason I'm not getting the vaccine is because I'm just not in medicine, period. I don't take aspirin when I have a headache. The only time I would go to a doctor or a hospital is if I have like a broken bone or I'm bleeding or I'm shot or something like that, for a situation like that, or I tear a ligament exercising or something like that. But I am not a person who goes to a doctor when I'm sick. I don't get sick too often. I have a strong, healthy immune system and all of that stuff. So I'm not into just taking some type of vaccination for no reason whatsoever. To me, it's no reason. And that's just my opinion. That's my perspective. It's my body and my life. And I have a right to that point of view. So please, nobody tell me that I should think differently about it because you think differently about it. That doesn't make any sense. So the thing with the vaccine is the reason that I'm not getting it is not because I'm concerned about how safe it is or I'm concerned about the testing and things like that. If I wanted to get it, I can go get it. I know exactly where to get it and get it for free. I was talking about this on my Instagram story the other day, that there's a bar not far from where I live here that was offering people to get vaccinated. It was Saturday and Sunday. You come there, if you get the vaccine on the spot, they'll give you a free piece of pizza and a soda. And that right there says a lot. It says a lot that a business, any business, I don't care who it is offering you something free in exchange for getting vaccinated. I've read that there are businesses, companies that are offering their employees, will give you a bonus if you get vaccinated. We'll give you $200 or $750 or $2,000 if you go and get the vaccine. And the first thing that I thought when I saw that any entity was trying to induce people to get vaccinated by giving them bonuses, basically paying people to get a vaccine, my first thought was, well, if the pandemic is as deadly and as dangerous as it has been billed to be, and there are many conversations that can be had on that, we're not going to have all of them here today, but if it is as dangerous as it has been told to us that it is, then why, and there's a vaccine available which would ostensibly make you a little bit more safe from the virus. I understand the vaccine doesn't make you that you're completely untouchable, but it makes you a little bit more safe than someone who's not vaccinated. If all those are true, then why would you need to induce people to get it? Why do you need to give people a bonus to get it? If I think the virus could kill me and you have a vaccine, you're giving it to me for free, then why you gotta give me a piece of pizza to go get it? Now, I don't need your damn pizza. Why would I want a piece of pizza anyway? All right, isn't pizza what leads to obesity and bad health? And aren't those the people that are dying from from the virus anyway? And this is a real thing. I'm not making this up. This is in my city of Miami. They offer you a piece of pizza and a soda if you get the vaccine. And the pizza and the soda will kill you the pizza and the soda are much more likely to kill someone who is young and relatively healthy than the virus is to kill them, believe it or not. But nobody's making us think about the pizza and the soda. Different conversation for a different day. Now, as far as the deaths, Because some of you are saying, well, Dre, what do you mean if the virus is as deadly as it says it's supposed to be? Don't you know how many people have died? These number of people died. This person died. This person died. I know all these people who died. Well, the thing is, and I think everyone can agree to this. If anyone doesn't agree or doesn't know about this, you can let me know. But I think everyone understands that ever since last year, the CDC and the government worked together. I don't know who specifically, which entity specifically was in charge of this, but I think everyone agrees with this conclusion that if someone died and they had anything related to COVID, then the death was marked as a COVID death. They didn't have to be, their main cause of death did not have to be COVID, but if anything in their system could possibly be linked to COVID, then it would be called a COVID-related death. And they stopped even saying COVID-related death. They just said died of COVID. And I know of people, I'm not going to say any names because I'm not going to disrespect their death in their life, but there are some people who I know of who passed away with COVID or some COVID-related symptoms or whatever. Their death was marked as a COVID death, and other people who are mutual, we mutually know these people who've passed, are going around saying, well, this person died of COVID. And I'm thinking to myself, that mofo did not die of COVID. That person was already kind of teetering on the grave. I mean, not to be so crude, but let's keep it real. All right, everybody dies someday. All of us are going to die one day. And I'm like, look, that person was already going to be dead one way or another. All right, COVID just kind of pushed them over the ledge, but they did not die of COVID. They might have died with COVID, but they didn't die of COVID. So this has been it's kind of been a statistical, basically a way to lie with statistics. And why would anyone want to do this? Why would the CDC want to do this? Why would healthcare industry want to do this? Why would the government want to do this and make every death that could somehow be linked to COVID, call it a COVID death? Why do they want to do this? The reason they want to do this is because the more deaths, the bigger that number they can give you, that big round number, it will scare more people and it will cause more of the sheep to fall in line and do what they want the herd to do. Again, hence the herd, what do they call it? Herd immunity that we're supposed to at some point reach when it comes to COVID. But then there are new strains coming up. I'll see one article on social media that will say, all right, we can get the herd immunity if this number of people get vaccinated, this percentage of people get vaccinated. Then I'll see another article 2 minutes later that says, all right, well, there's a new strain of COVID coming out that's affecting young people. Here's a new strain for kids. Here's a new strain that can get around your vaccine. Here's a new strain that people should be worried about now. Here's a new strain that can happen if you gather indoors with too many people with no mask on. Every day there's new things coming out, new propaganda or new, we can call it information, whatever you want to call it, that is going to keep more people afraid of doing anything, even if you wear a mask and 2 masks and a face shield and you got the vaccine and you stay locked down and you don't do anything. And all of this is just, again, the whole point is this is all getting out of hand. So my answer to the people are going to die comment is this. First of all, on a high level, you're going to die anyway. I'm going to die, you're going to die, all of us are going to die at one point. So my question to you is, since you know you're going to die, I think we all agree to that. Do you want to live the rest of your life restricted, controlled, and in fear and still die? Or do you want to do what you want to do and then die? Because we're going to die either way. All right, so which way do you want to die? Now, you might be saying, Dre, you're kind of bastardizing the point, making it sound you're oversimplifying it here. And yes, I am oversimplifying it on purpose, but the question still needs to be answered. Fear exists to keep you alive for short-term dangers. That's the reason fear existed. Back in the caveman days, if there was a saber-toothed tiger coming around the corner and maybe about to chase us, the purpose of fear was to activate us. It allows us to move really quickly, gives us a rush of adrenaline so we can run away and escape the saber-toothed tiger or escape the fellow caveman who's trying to destroy us and club us over the head and take our food. So we can escape the danger and then we can go back to a relaxed state. That's the purpose of fear, to give you a short-term burst of adrenaline so you can get away from the thing that is putting you in danger and then you can go back to relaxing. That is the purpose of fear. Short-term danger, eluding short-term danger. Fear does not exist for you to live with it as a normal, everyday feeling. So staying locked in your house, covering your nose and mouth, and not being around human beings is not a response that fear was designed to elicit. That is a way of living. Fear is not a way of living. Fear, again, is for short-term situations, not for you to just live your whole life like that. The funny thing is, the people who are claiming to be most afraid of the virus, the people who are most mentally protesting what they are listening to come out of my mouth right now, are the same people who are least willing to live their life again. Isn't that interesting? These are the people they're most afraid of the virus. But they want to just stick with the fear. They just want to make this fear of doing, they don't want to do anything, go anywhere, be around anybody, cover half your face for the rest of your life. They're the ones who are least willing to go live again. And that leads to my third point. The topic once again here today is letting go of your COVID fear. The third point is this. This whole situation where we are right now in the world, no matter where you live, this is no longer about viruses. It's not about health. And it damn sure is not about saving lives. It's not about any of those things. Because listen, everybody who wants to save their life is wearing a mask, not going around other people, and they got a vaccine. Everybody else is deciding based on their own risk assessment. They're deciding, I don't want to get the virus. I'm gonna wear a mask as much as I need to, but not any more than that. And that's the way that I want to live. And then the people who are on the first side, who got the vaccine and wearing the mask, they're like, oh, well, you are endangering other people's lives by not getting the virus, not getting the vaccine. I disagree with that. I disagree with that because every human being has a right to do what they want to do with their body. You can't tell another person what they must do with their body. Just because you did it doesn't mean other people need to do it. And if you happen to think that they're wrong, well, you can think whatever the hell you want to think. You can even say what you want to say, but you can't force another person to want to get something put into their body that, first of all, has not been proven. Second of all, has not been widely tested. You are the one who is being tested on. And third, even if it was proven and tested, if somebody doesn't want it, they don't need to do it. All right, someone doesn't want to do something, they don't need to do it. Someone doesn't want to go to the dentist or go to the eye doctor, or they don't want to, whatever else it could be. They don't want to get eyeglasses because they can't see. They don't have to, and you can't force another person to do that. And if it happens to affect you in some way, then it's your job to do what you need to do defensively to stay away from those people who may endanger you. And this is just life. But you can't force other people to do the same thing that you're doing. That's a herd/sheep mentality, and we're anti-sheep over here at Work on Your Game. What this whole thing has become about now, and we're still on point number 3, is about people's willingness to be obedient to any form of authority, even when the authority doesn't quite make sense. And what's happening nowadays is you have a bunch of people who are questioning what the authorities are saying. The authorities being the CDC, the government, Dr. Fauci, and saying, well, wait a minute, this doesn't make logical sense. This doesn't make logical sense. This doesn't make logical sense. And then you got the other half of people, it's about half and half right now. The other half of people who are saying, well, all these people died and we have to do this to save people's lives and it's for the greater good and we got to reach herd immunity. And they're just repeating the same things over and over again. Or if you make an airtight enough argument, they just ignore you and say nothing. Trust me, I've seen that happen. All it is just about people's willingness to be obedient. And a lot of it, for the people on that half who are being obedient, this has become virtue signaling and gesturing. Like we've talked about in many of these episodes where I talked about social justice and race recently, a lot of it has become virtue signaling now. It's not about actual results. It's not about doing anything tangible. It is about just showing off your virtue. Like when I see somebody with a mask on and your profile photo on the internet, on any social media platform, you have a mask in your profile photo. Or is your bathroom mirror, does your bathroom mirror have COVID? Or why do you have a mask on your profile photo? Not because you're saving anybody's life, not because you're saving your own. It's because you want to show the rest of the world, look at me, I am morally superior to the people who are not conforming, and I am conforming to the demands of the virtue signaling mob so you can hopefully avoid the wrath of that mob. It's not about you doing anything moving forward, it's about you avoiding going backward. And going backward would be you absorbing the wrath of the mob. That's the virtue signaling that people are doing these days. I see people driving in their cars with a mask on by themselves. I see people walking by themselves, no one within 50 feet of them with a mask on. And I'm like, why does this person have a mask on? Virtue signaling. They're not saving anybody. They're not actually doing anything. You're not going to bring your dead grandma back to life by wearing a mask now. All you are doing is virtue signaling that you are morally, no quote, on the right side of history, whatever the fuck that means. It means nothing, but people like saying it because it makes them feel good. Listen, if you're scared, get a vaccine. Oh, wait a minute. You already got the vaccine, but you're still scared. All right, so what are you going to do? This is not a rhetorical question. You can't force other people to get it. Herd immunity is highly unlikely, as what I've read this article on this website called nature.com. They say herd immunity is highly unlikely due to several factors that they mentioned. Namely, there will always be new variants of a virus. There's uneven vaccination rates that cannot be predicted. There will be increased interactions as more and more people actually go outside and live like human beings again. There will be more interactions leading to new virus situations that can't be predicted, because how can you predict, again, the actions of 330 million people? You can't. Therefore, herd immunity is highly unlikely to be achieved. Knowing this, vaccinated person with a mask on in your profile photo, what are you going to do? Again, this is not a rhetorical question. What are you going to do? Are you going to just do nothing for the greater good? Oh, so you're going to wait. Oh, I know what you're going to do. I forgot. You know exactly what you need to do. You're going to wait until the government and Dr. Fauci and President Biden tells you, oh, you don't need to let us tell you what you can and can't do anymore. All right, we're not going to tell you you can't go outside anymore. We're not going to tell you got to stay with a mask on. Biden's not going to wear a mask on Zoom calls anymore. You know what? Listen to us less. All right, you don't need to listen to Dr. Fauci anymore. Let me ask you a question. Do you think the government is going to do that? Do you think there's going to come a day when Dr. Fauci says, don't listen to me anymore, do what you want to do? I think there's going to come a day when Joe Biden does not have a mask on in his press appearances, even though he's by himself and there's nobody around him, nobody within 10 feet of him at least. And he's going to say, all right, no more masking things. Let's talk about other things. Let's go back to just living normal life. You don't have to listen to us on anything regarding the pandemic anymore. Do you think that day is coming? Do you think that's ever going to happen? Again, this is not a rhetorical question. It's kind of rhetorical, but you should probably come up with an answer to all you masking your profile picture people. You should come up with an answer to this question, because this is really a matter of life and death, because you're going to live the rest of your life under the thumb of what they're telling you until you die. So it literally is life and death. Moving on to point number 4. Today's topic, once again, is losing your COVID fear. Number 4, let me give you a news flash, everybody. The federal government will never tell you that it's okay to stop wearing a mask, and that it's okay to gather in masks, and that it's okay to go back to living your life. That is not going to happen. There will never be an announcement from President Biden or Dr. Fauci or the CDC or whoever else that you've been getting your information from that has kept you in fear. They will never tell you, all right, no more masks. You can go ahead and mass gather again. All right, just go ahead and live your life the way that you want to live it again. Everything's open. This is all completely over. That will not happen. All right, Joe Biden will be, how old is Joe Biden? 78, 79 years old. All right, he will still be alive and you'll still be wearing that mask. All right, that before they tell you that these things are open. 2 things are going to happen, though. Let me tell you what will happen. I just told you what won't happen. Here's what will happen. Number 1, the government will keep creating reasons. They will keep crafting reasons for you to feel afraid, to keep feeding the sheep who keep eating the grass that they're feeding you, and they will keep control over you. Because if you can induce fear in another person, you can control them. This is already happening. All right. Again, those of you who are saying we just need to stay locked down indefinitely because it's for the greater good, without any answers to the questions of what about people's businesses? What about people's mental health? What about, just us getting on with our lives? What about kids going to school? What about, businesses making their money? What about, human interaction? What about these things? You have no answers for that. You're just saying it's for the greater good because you know somebody who died of COVID, was probably with COVID, not of COVID. For those of you who are in that category, all right, the government will continue to control you because they can induce fear in you. And they will keep doing this. When someone can control you with fear, they're not going to stop doing it out of the kindness of their heart. All right, even the federal government. One day you're going to see the New York Times. They say, I saw this article just 2 days ago. Here's a new way you can get sick and die of COVID, even if you're young and healthy and you already got the vaccine. Here's a new strain that's coming out that you should be concerned about. Experts claim. The news is structured. Remember what I told you about the news in episode 1474? It is designed to keep you in fear. But if you are a sheep and you allow the news to tell you how you should feel and how you should think, listen, they will just keep doing it. All right, they will keep using you if you allow them to use you. I told you in episode number 1696 how to think for yourself and avoid becoming a sheep. But those of you who didn't listen to that episode, or you listened to it and it just went in one ear and out the other, you didn't heed it, okay, they're going to keep hurting you. All right, this is how it is. This is their business model, is to keep you in fear. Because if they keep you in fear, then you got to keep coming back to them. You keep coming back to them, and they keep making money. This is their business model. I'm going to keep saying it until everybody gets it. And point number 2, or number 2, reason number 2, thing number 2 that's going to occur. Now I got it right. Second thing that's going to occur, aside from what I just told you, the only way that we go back to normal is thusly. Let me tell you how it's going to happen. If it ever happens. People have to stop conforming. People have to decide that they're not going to conform anymore. No more wearing masks. They will not allow themselves to be locked down anymore. People who own brick and mortar businesses, storefronts, they will just open up and tell people masks are optional. Mass gatherings will just happen. People will just gather en masse and nobody's going to stop it. A critical mass of people must start doing these things, and the government, what's going to happen, because they can't enforce it, because they can't lock everybody up at the same time, the government will just slowly, quietly, local and then federal, they will just slowly, quietly stop pushing this fear shit on people because they see that it's not working anymore. That's how this is going to end. If you think that Dr. Fauci, who most of us had never heard of before COVID, you think he wants to give up the prominence that he has gained over this last year and tell you, all right, don't listen to me anymore. The virus is no longer a thing to be bothered by, no longer a thing to be afraid of. Let me just go back to being known in the medical world, but the casual person, the everyday person, no longer will know anything about me or hear from me. You think he's going to give that up? Only way he's giving that up is when he signs his book deal. And oh yeah, he will be signing a book deal in the next, I'd say in the next 12 to 24 months. Fauci will be signing a book deal. He'll get something close to what the Obamas got. He will keep coming up with reasons why you need to listen to him, at least until he gets that book deal. Then he'll be quiet because then he got what he needed. He gets his prominence and his attention. Scared people will always find reasons to be scared, and people who can control scared people will always come up with reasons to keep scaring them. Let's recap today's class, which is losing your COVID fear. Thought about whether it was worth it to even do this or not, but the fact that I was thinking about it means it's definitely worth it. I went to a baseball game, it was boring, it was like watching on TV because there were no human beings around me. I like being around human beings. I like interacting with actual humans in real life, even if I'm not talking to them, just be around where there are people. Like walking in a mall, you might not speak to a single person, just being there around humans where you can see people's faces and feel people's energy. A lot of you have been shut out from that for the last year, and mostly at this point is your decision. It's not by force, it's a decision. Point number one, normally I would offer a disclaimer to this where I'm talking to anything that is related to medicine because I am not a doctor. I'm not an epidemiologist, but you know what? Fuck that. Two reasons. One, doctors are the ones who got us into this shit, so fuck their advice. And number two, this ain't about doctors, medicines, or even viruses. This is about fear. Point number two, people say, well, Dre, it's all for the greater good. Don't you care about people's lives? I know people who died of COVID who need to stay masked up and locked down, but they keep moving the goalposts on you. And there are logical reasons why the goalposts may be moved. But the problem is they keep coming up with more scare tactics to control you at this point. It looks like it's more about scare tactics and virtue signaling than it is about actually controlling the spread or stopping the spread or any of the phrases that have been thrown out there. All of us are going to die at one point. So do you want to die after living the rest of your life restricted, or do you want to die doing what you want to do? Remember that the purpose of fear is to help you elude short-term danger, not for you to live with fear as a normal, everyday feeling just for the rest of your life. But the funny thing is, the people who are most in fear of the virus are the same people who don't want to live the rest of they don't want to live their life anymore, which leads to point number three. It's no longer about viruses, health, or saving lives. It has now become virtue signaling. People with masks on in their profile picture, walking around with a mask, there's nobody around you, driving in a car with your windows up with a mask on. If you're scared, get the vaccine. Oh, you already got the vaccine and you're still scared. My question to you is, what are you going to do? If you're waiting for the government to tell you, you don't need to listen to them anymore and do what you want to do, that ain't happening. Point number four. Newsflash, the government will never tell you it's okay to stop wearing masks, it's okay to gather in masks again, stop wearing mask with a K, it's okay to gather in mass with an S. Two things are going to happen. Number one, the government will keep creating reasons for fear and the sheep will keep following it. And number two, the only way we go back to normal is if other people who are not sheep know what, they just stop conforming. Like, I'm not wearing a mask. I am going to gather with other people. I'm not going to lock down. I'm going to open my business and anybody can come in. We will have mass gatherings. When a critical mass of people do these things, the government will realize, okay, we can't control them with fear anymore, and they'll just stop trying and everybody's going to go back to normal. But until that happens, they will keep pushing fear on you. Dr. Fauci is not going to tell you, I'm no longer relevant, stop listening to me, go back and live your life the way that you want to, at least not until he gets his Obama level book deal, or at least maybe 50 to 75% of what the Obamas got. Not until he gets that book deal so he can maintain his relevance. I'm not saying that he's doing all of this because he wants to be relevant, but I'm saying you give people that amount of power, they ain't giving it up so easily. That's the way that I see it. This is my show. You tell me what you think. Send me a text. My number 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre all day.